So again, my point is simply, if a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments,
Yep.
would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not
to
allowed
have.
to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with it.
But is that the kind of world?
See, throwing Muslims under the bus. Andrew Tate just, at the drop of the hat, he just will disassociate from Muslims. That's what they believe. But in other contexts, he wants to say, oh yeah, Islam is great. Muslims are doing the right thing. These chads, these Muslim chads, these traditional Muslims. So this, how can a Muslim watch this and feel good about Andrew Tate? Just you can value Andrew Tate for raising awareness of the importance of traditional masculinity. Okay, fine. But acknowledge that he's no friend of Muslims. If he's when the pressure is on, when he can't benefit from it, he just throws Muslims under the bus. He throws Islam under the bus. And same with Christians. Throws Christians under the bus very, very easily.
All for women that you...
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
So you're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an
Is that there are parts of the world where this is fine. So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where...
You don't think it's fine?
The reason
This isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that.
Yeah.
Than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand.
I'd respect you more if you completely backtrack from everything that you've been saying and you completely agree with the liberal mindset.
Why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about. It's not a truth I created.
Hang on. You're doing it again. What do you mean that's a truth in other parts of the world? That's what you said. You're not talking about another part of the world. You're talking about what you believe is the difference between 18 and 90-years-olds and 26-year-olds.
I was talking.
So now
your
he's
belief.
like he's completely like disassociated from his statement now, saying no. This is what other people believe. I was just mediating a conversation. So how far is he going to bend the knee to Piers Morgan? Like, this is really embarrassing. It's a poor display. Like, he's not able to defend. This is something very easy for Andrew Tate to defend. I don't get it.
Talking about what the people on the panel believe the difference is.
So what do you think the difference is?
I think the difference is age.
What's the difference then?
Well, then a 26-year-old's older than a 19-year-old.
And so you stand by what you said about talking to the guys, being to the club more times, being left to dump more times. Well, do you believe that or not?
No, there's plenty of 26-year-old women who have been with one man or virgins,
right.
Of course.
So you don't believe that?
I don't think that the age is the only thing that's going to decipher how many men and women.
So if you don't actually believe what you said, just say sorry.
It's not about not believing what I'm saying. It's about you understanding that there's large conversations going on.
I'm just reading back stuff you've said.
I know.
And I'm asking you, do you believe it?
I believe that it's more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
You don't know that.
I don't know that.
It's a separate issue.
In fact, there could be absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever.
Completely agree.
So why say it? Why stigmatize all 26-year-old women?
It's not about, we're repeating ourselves here.
We're not really. I'm just trying to get to what you actually believe.
I believe that men find youth attractive in general. I believe that in the context of the conversation.
25-year-old women aren't old.
I agree with you. They're not, especially I'm old. I'm a lot older than that. The point I was making was part of mediating a panel, a conversation between feminists and some Muslim guys.
I get it.
Okay, good. So you understand why I said the sentence.
But as far as I know, you weren't espousing what a Muslim man might think. You were espousing what you think.
I was espousing what the people on the panel believed.
But you were saying what you think.
I feel like you're trying to pin me down.
If it's not what you believe, just say, I don't believe that.
What part wouldn't I believe?
Well, you tell me which part you don't believe.
He's
which
waffling.
part would you now say you don't believe?
He's waffling. He first disassociated, and he said, no, that's what the rest of the world believes. And now he's saying, I do believe it.
I believe that 25-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners, but I don't believe that makes them a bad person.
Right. But you understand
what?
The way you phrased it, mate.
See, like, what is traditional about this? You're a 25-year-old woman and you're just sleeping around. You're promiscuous. That's not a bad thing. So nothing to do with tradition. Like, even in traditional societies, you can be like a non-religious person and still be traditional, and that has existed. Like, I know many Iranians, for example. I'm Persian, and Persians from the previous generation, or like my grandfather's generation, they weren't particularly religious. They weren't particularly religious in the sense that they would pray and fast or go to the mosque. They weren't particularly religious. They would identify as Muslim, but they're still traditional. They recognize that being promiscuous and living a life of zina fornication. This is something wrong. This is something bad. That's just known. Like, this is one of the critical values within all traditional societies. And we can talk about why it's seen as bad, why it is bad, and the wisdom about prohibiting it and having actual physical punishments or making it criminalizing fornication, which is in Islam, it's criminalized. What is the wisdom of that? Well, there's plenty of wisdom for that. Like, if you have a society that's full of fornication, that's a society that is sick. That's a society that's going to die. That's a civilization that's going to crumble. And history has proven this over and over and over and over again. That once you get to a level of decadence and sexual depravity spreads throughout society, that civilization is on the way out. It's on the decline. And a lot of the analysts, this is the analysis that Edward Gibbon, like the great historian, arguably the first major British historian, Edward Gibbon, this is his analysis of the fall of the Roman Empire. It's due to the sexual depravity that was spreading within Roman society. Ibn Khaldun also, as a Muslim, gave this kind of analysis about the rise and fall of civilization. Once civilization becomes soft and more concerned with fulfilling desires and lusts, and becomes hyper-focused on luxuries like food and sex and enjoying the pleasures of life, that becomes the main goal of life, that society, that civilization is going to collapse. And this is what we see over and over and over again. It's very clear to understand why. So if the existence or the continuity of civilization is at stake, maybe you want to criminalize the kind of behavior that will lead to the destruction of all civilization. Maybe, just thinking about it logically, I'm spitballing here. But maybe you want to prohibit, at least, if you don't want to go to the full Sharia route, you don't want to go the full Islam route of criminalizing and having corporal punishment for fornication and adultery. Okay, you non-Muslims, you don't want to go to that extent. Well, maybe just prohibit it. At least make it illegal. But no, we cannot control what people do in the privacy of their own bedrooms. That's wrong. Okay, so you're fine with the collapse of civilization? You're fine with destroying society? You're fine with the destruction of the nuclear family? Forget about the extended family. Even the nuclear family has to be run into the ground because you can't take a stand and say, no, forget about this liberal garbage. We're not going to allow fornication and adultery to destroy us. So that's what Tate stands for, basically. He's basically exactly like these cucks who they don't stand up for anything. They just compromise to liberalism over and over and over again. We can just see, like, this interview is a microcosm of how liberals break down those who, on their face, they want to be traditional. They have a traditional message. They claim to want to fight back against the liberal empire. But when they're pushed, they don't stand firm. They just compromise. They watered things down. This is not a good look. This is not a good look for Andrew Tate. And Muslims need to recognize, like, this pattern, because they do this to imams as well. They do this to Muslims as well. The same kind of interrogation. They try to bring up these points like, oh, chattel? You think women are chattel? And then the imam, what is the imam going to say? Oh, you believe in slavery? You believe in corporal punishment? You want to dictate what people do in the privacy of their own bedroom? And then, oh, no, well, don't take me out of context. This is what I actually think. And no, just stand up and say, yes, just like the meme. Just say, yes. You can start with that. That's a good start, to just say, yes. That is what I think. And then you can explain. You can take them step by step and turn the tables. Put the pressure on them. Show that actually what you're advocating is incoherent, number one. Number two, it leads to all kinds of terrible situation, like terrible destruction of society and family and civilization. Islam is right. Islam is right about women. Islam is right, period. So if Andrew Tate wants to really have a traditional message, he needs to go all the way. He needs to advocate full hardcore Sharia. That is the only solution for Andrew Tate. He really wants to send a message and not be bullied by these liberals. But this is exactly what they do to Muslims. They've done it to Christians. They've done it to Jews. They've done it to Hindus. They just keep wanting to break you down by embarrassing you, by asking these kinds of questions. And then as soon as you take one step to compromise, because as soon as you say, yeah, I guess slavery is not a good idea. Like, slavery is immoral. It's evil. As soon as you say that, oh, well, guess what? The Bible is advocating slavery. The Quran is advocating slavery. These Hindu texts are advocating slavery. The Talmud, the Old Testament, is advocating slavery. The Buddha was A-okay with slavery. So if you're okay with taking that out of your religion or saying that that is wrong, okay, well, then the whole religion you should be open to reform and modify. That's their whole trick. That's their whole trick. That's why you have to stick up for your religion completely. If you really think that your religion is from God. Now, I don't know if Christians actually think that their religion is from God. Some of them do. But a lot of them who thump the Bible and want to debate Muslims, they don't really think that their religion is from God. They recognize that their religion is inauthentic, like it's been modified. But if you really think that your religion is from God, then you should stand up for every part of it. You should stand up for every part of your religion. Otherwise, you're just going to liberalize like these people, like Andrew Tate. Or like you actually don't think that your religion is from God. So you think that this, your Bible is corrupted. Your Bible is not fully from God. Like, that's what you have to concede. Like, that's the only option.